My husband accused me of betrayal, claiming financial infidelity over the secret expenses for a child born outside our marriage. My husband is upset with me for what he calls being financially unfaithful. We're both 33 and have been married for 10 years. We started out together in college, and from the beginning we prioritized our financial security. Thankfully, we've had some good luck along the way. We both earn decent salaries, close to $200,000 each, and we paid off our student loans within a few years. Since we both attended state schools and had some scholarships, we didn't have much debt to start with. We live in a house I inherited from my grandmother, so there's no mortgage and we don't carry any credit card debt. We max out our 401k contributions and currently have 18 months' worth of expenses saved in our emergency fund, which we're still adding to. Our cars are paid off and should last us for at least another 5 years, so we feel pretty secure on that front. Financially, we manage things with a mix of joint and separate accounts. We have a joint account for bills and savings but keep separate accounts for our personal spending money. Each of us gets a generous monthly allowance from our personal accounts to use on hobbies, clothes, outings with friends, and things like that. However, date nights, vacations, and larger joint purchases, like household appliances and repairs, come from our joint account. We also agreed that any bonuses or side hustle income we earn would go into our individual accounts unless we need them for something big, like a major home repair. Here's where it gets tricky. My husband tends to spend more than I do. He has expensive hobbies, especially golf and collecting sports memorabilia, and he loves designer clothes, which is totally fine. It's his fun money. On my side, my hobbies are much less costly. I enjoy running, working out, reading, and baking. For me, a perfect day is just hanging out with a friend at home, enjoying some homemade pastries. Recently, I decided to treat myself after realizing I had saved up a good amount in my fund money. I revamped my gaming setup, buying a new PC, desk, and gaming chair, which totaled about $5,000. When I told my husband about it, he was furious. He claimed he had no idea I had saved that much and insisted I should have consulted him before making such a big purchase. I didn't see why it mattered since it came from my own fund money, not our joint accounts. He went as far as to say that my saving that amount without telling him felt like financial infidelity to him. Now he says he's lost trust in me and is demanding that I return the items and deposit most of the money back into our joint account. He wants to implement a new rule that limits our fund money accounts to a maximum of $2,000, with any excess going back into the joint account. This seems really unfair to me, especially since he tends to spend most of his allowance each month instead of saving for anything bigger. I feel like I'm being punished just for being a more day-to-day saver rather than a spender. It wouldn't even occur to me to ask how much he has in his fund money or to micromanage what he spends it on. I wasn't deliberately hiding anything from him. He never asked about my savings until after I made the purchases. Still, I realize I could have been more open about my plans. Just for some extra context, we each have our own office space in the house, so my gaming setup isn't taking over a space he uses. I usually don't game when he's home unless he's already busy with something else. Most of my gaming time happens when he's off playing golf. Plus, I run about 40 to 50 miles a week, so it's not like I'm just sitting around all day. I honestly can't think of a good reason why he would object to me gaming or having a nice setup in my own space. Now, regarding the financial infidelity accusation, he finally calmed down enough for us to talk it through. As many others have suggested, it turns out it's not really about the money but rather a reflection of larger issues in our relationship. He's been feeling increasingly unhappy with me for a while, and here's why. He believes he's way more committed to his career development than I am to mine. While we have similar income ceilings right now, finance tends to offer much higher potential than my field, which is tech and software development. He's currently in an executive training program, while I'm not pursuing anything like that. He's feeling resentful about working long hours in a high-pressure environment while I'm at home doing something that's relatively fun and easy for me. He worries that I'm not pushing myself to do more and that over time, these resentments will build up. He's concerned that if he advances significantly in his career while I don't, I won't be pulling my weight financially. He also mentioned that since I got back into gaming a few months ago, I've been putting less effort into cooking. I do most of the cooking since I work from home and have a more flexible schedule. I'll admit it's true. I've been preparing simpler meals lately, like grilled chicken salads or chili with cornbread, instead of the more elaborate dishes I used to make. He's noticed I haven't been doing the fancy table settings with flowers like I used to either. He's been noticing little things like the fancy table settings with placemats and all that, and honestly, I didn't realize it mattered to him as much as it does. Acts of service are one of his main love languages, so he's feeling a bit neglected lately. He's also expressed that he thinks I'm not putting enough effort into my appearance. Not in terms of weight or body, since I'm a long-distance runner and pretty slim, but more about things like clothes and hair. I admit I've never really focused on those areas, especially since I work from home in tech, where the standard for looking presentable is pretty low. I usually just buy simple, practical clothes from places like Target and Walmart, don't wear much makeup, and keep my hair in a ponytail. Sure, I dress up more for date nights and special occasions, but most days he comes home to find me in a t-shirt and yoga pants. No makeup. He's mentioned wanting me to make more of an effort. The bottom line is, because of all these factors, he's starting to notice other women. He insists he hasn't cheated but admits he's been comparing me to other people because he often feels disappointed. Given his work in finance, he's surrounded by career-oriented, Type A women who look effortlessly polished and glamorous while also having interesting hobbies. He feels terrible about this, though, because he knows I'm a good person and doesn't want to be judgmental. He recognizes that it's not so much that I've changed, but that his own goals and expectations have shifted over the past couple of years. The financial infidelity comment comes from his feeling that I'm not truly investing in myself or in our relationship, which he sees as a kind of betrayal of our future together. He reassures me that he loves me enough to be honest, and I genuinely believe he's not trying to be hurtful. I had to really pull this out of him, but he's concerned that we might drift apart, and he doesn't want to feel angry or resentful anymore. I know some people might suggest that I should just tell him to take a hike and talk to a lawyer, but we've been married for 10 years, and I want to see if we can salvage our relationship. So here's the plan. We've made an appointment with a marriage counselor for next week. I'm also going to try to address some of these issues. While I'm not sure about pushing myself to be more ambitious professionally, especially since I'm happy with my work-life balance and we're financially comfortable, I can at least work on the other things. I'll spend more time on cooking and decorating, and I'll try to spruce myself up a bit when he's on his way home from work, now that I know it matters to him. I understand that, in the end, it's all about making an effort for each other. I feel like I'm just tiptoeing around, trying to contort myself to please him. But honestly, it won't cost me much, definitely less than a divorce, to give it a shot for a month or two and see how we both feel. I know I'd always regret it if I didn't try. So while this might not be the update you were expecting, that's where things stand right now. If people are still interested, I can share more after we start marriage counseling and see how the changes are going. I also want to thank everyone for their responses. They were really eye-opening and helped me realize that I deserve better than the way I've been treated. The expectations my husband is placing on me feel unfair and unrealistic, especially since he's not doing anything to make it easier for me to meet them or to show he appreciates what I bring to the table. I've definitely been conditioned to be a people pleaser, and that's impacting what I consider reasonable. I have a lot to think about now, like what I really want and what will make me happy. I don't want to keep making myself smaller, metaphorically speaking, just to please him. Do I really want to be in a marriage under those conditions? I feel like I'd be selling myself short if I just agree to most of what he demands. I'll still go to the marriage counseling appointment, but I think I'll hold off on making any other changes until we get some professional input. As for more details about our relationship, yes, we each make about $200,000, so that's a combined $400,000. His concern is that he's on the path to getting promoted to a much higher executive position, one that could pay over $500,000. He's currently being mentored and trained for that role and expects to be promoted in the next couple of years if all goes well. He's worried that I'll fall behind in earnings. But honestly, we don't need the money for anything since we have no debt, aren't planning on having kids, and already have close to $1 million in retirement savings with 30-plus years left to work. As for meals, I do all the prep, cooking, table setting, and cleanup. I actually enjoy it. It's part of my self-care routine, not just taking care of him. After all, I get to eat the food too. Since I work from home, I usually make enough to prepare meals that we can both enjoy. I also make sure to have leftovers for lunch the next day. I know this situation doesn't seem fair, and others might think he should pitch in more, but honestly, it doesn't bother me as long as he enjoys and appreciates what I do. Typically, I'm done with work by 5 or 6 p.m., but these days he doesn't get home until around 9 p.m. So, I don't have to wear makeup or dressy clothes while I'm working. I can just quickly change and fix my hair and makeup when he's on his way home. I don't believe clothes need to be designer. I can find nice blouses, skirts, and dresses at Target just as easily as I can in t-shirts and yoga pants or at thrift stores and department store sales. I get that the women he compares me to probably don't wear fancy clothes and makeup at home. He's just seeing them in professional settings where business attire is required. I appreciate you saying that I haven't done anything wrong here. There's definitely a difference between a preference and a boundary. It's true that he used the word boundary during our conversation when he revealed his unhappiness. He said it was a boundary for him to come home to a nicely dressed wife who has prepared a thoughtful meal. I realize he completely misuses the term. In light of everything, I decided to try a little experiment over the weekend to see what would happen if I attempted to meet some of his demands. I didn't think they were reasonable, but I had this growing sense that the goalposts would just keep shifting, and I was playing a losing game. So, on Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a fresh haircut and highlights, then got a manicure and pedicure. After that, I hit up the farmer's market for fresh flowers and gourmet ingredients. Saturday is usually our date night, but I suggested we stay in so I could whip up a special dinner. I went all out with a steakhouse-style meal, complete with lobster bisque, a bread basket filled with different types of rolls and savory muffins made from scratch, crab-stuffed mushrooms, and scalloped potatoes. For dessert, I made white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I even wore a lavender sheath dress, his favorite color, on me, and put on high heels along with fully done hair and makeup. For all that effort, I got a thanks, it was tasty, and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, I handled all the serving and cleanup afterward. On Sundays, we usually go out, but he suggested I whip up brunch at home, and I really went all out. I made French-pressed coffee and mimosas with freshly squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles topped with bananas Foster, scrambled eggs with Parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple-glazed bacon. I put on a blue sleeveless sundress and sandals, did my hair and makeup, and went the extra mile. For all that effort, I got a mere thanks, it's good, with no help for serving or cleanup afterward. When I asked if this was what he meant by his previous critiques, he said it was a start but accused me of being entitled for wanting credit for basic adulting. Then he dropped a bombshell that left me reeling. He said he was being so hard on me because he realized I had a lot to make up for due to being a low-value woman. I was completely taken aback. I demanded to know what he meant, and he had the audacity to say it was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. Let's be real. We started dating at 21. And neither of us had ever claimed to be virgins or set that as some kind of expectation, except maybe those who are extremely religious, which we are not. I had been honest with him about having had 2 previous partners. My high school boyfriend, who I broke up with when we went to different colleges, and another boyfriend from my first year of college. Both were committed relationships, nothing casual. But then he kept going, saying my low value meant I would need to make it up to him for the rest of my life, that I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment, and that I was lucky anyone even wanted to marry me. He even had the nerve to say he's been connecting with someone from work, warning me that if I wanted to keep him, I better step up. At that point, I snapped. I told him it didn't sound like there was anything to keep if he no longer loved, liked, or respected me. I told him to leave, and without hesitation, he said he would gladly head over to his girlfriend's place. I know many people have insisted he's having an affair and that his complaints are just a facade to distance himself from me. I feel utterly foolish for thinking he was merely stressed at work or that he genuinely wanted to work on our marriage. I've taken the week off from work to sort through this chaos. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow and canceled our marriage counseling session. Instead, I found an individual therapist for an intake session later this week. Apparently, he and his girlfriend are coming this evening to pick up more of his things, and I'm bracing myself for that confrontation. I want everyone to know that I do not see myself as low value in any way. I let my husband make me question my worth for far too long, but I am finally reclaiming my strength and understanding my true value. It's clear now that this was a me problem. We obviously don't share the same goals and values, and he has become someone I no longer recognize. I know the divorce won't be fun or easy, but I'm confident that I will be okay. Thank you all for helping me see that I was being played and for preventing me from wasting any more time in a marriage that was already over. Additional update: financial infidelity accusation and cheating. Hey everyone, I wasn't planning to post another update so soon, but I've received dozens of DMs and messages asking how I'm doing and what's been going on. So this is specifically for those checking in on me. To recap, a couple of weeks ago, I shared that my husband accused me of financial infidelity after I spent $5,000 of my own fun money on a gaming computer, desk, and chair. Despite being within our agreed-upon rules, he later admitted that it wasn't really the gaming setup that upset him. It was what he saw as a lack of professional ambition on my part. I'm a senior software developer, and we currently make the same salary. He also wanted me to put more effort into cooking elaborate meals, enhance our home decor, and dress up more for him. Then, about a week later, he dropped the bombshell that he viewed me as low value because I wasn't a virgin when we met at age 21. Keep in mind, he wasn't one either, and he had never criticized me for this in our 12 years together. To top it all off, he confessed to having an affair with a younger coworker who, in his twisted logic, was a virgin. It was absolutely disgusting. After that, he moved out and in with her. People have been asking how things went when he came to pick up his stuff and how my meeting with the lawyer went, so here are those updates for anyone interested. He was supposed to come by on Tuesday evening to collect his things, but at the last minute, he texted to say he couldn't make it because Amy, his girlfriend, wasn't feeling well. Some of you suspected it, but yes, she's pregnant. He told me this in a text, so now I have proof of the affair in writing. It's no longer just his word against mine. I didn't want him to keep jerking me around with the schedule, so I took control. I told him I'd pack up his things and arrange for movers. I didn't want him or them in my house any longer. I had already asked a friend to come over on Tuesday, the day he and Amy were supposed to come. So we spent the evening packing up his clothes and personal items. The movers came yesterday and took the boxes and furniture items he wanted. He didn't want much, just some stuff from his home office and his dresser. As it turns out, Amy's apartment is small. I provided a detailed inventory and photos of everything, which he approved, so he can't say I broke anything or left anything behind. I provided him with a detailed inventory and photos of everything he took, so he can't claim that I broke or ruined any of his stuff. After that, I went to the clinic for STD tests. I won't have the results for a week, but thankfully, I haven't had any symptoms. I also met with my lawyer, who told me I have a solid case for grounds of adultery and mental cruelty if I choose to pursue that route. At the very least, it gives me leverage to get him to settle quickly and quietly. We also locked down all the finances based on the lawyer's advice, ensuring he can't drain our joint funds or take anything that belongs to me. I changed account beneficiaries and took care of all that fun stuff. I even changed the locks on the house. Taking some advice from commenters, I've decided to get rid of the bed and other bedroom furniture I shared with him. I'm donating it, and someone is coming this afternoon to haul it all away. I'm going to completely redecorate the bedroom to reflect my own taste. It'll take some time, so I'm staying in one of the guest rooms in the meantime. I'm also taking a spa weekend getaway, leaving tomorrow morning and coming back Sunday night. I need a change of scenery before diving back into work next week. And yes, even after buying the gaming setup, I still have plenty of fun money left in my account to cover my lawyer's retainer and redo the bedroom. I'm all about frugality when it counts. Those are the main updates for now, and I'm honestly doing better than expected. I'm realizing more each day that my marriage really wasn't good, at least not for the last couple of years when he expected me to handle everything around the house and all the emotional labor of running our lives outside of work with little help and even less gratitude. Amy is certainly going to have her hands full. Once again, I can't thank everyone here enough. I need to get ready for my spa weekend, so I apologize in advance if I haven't responded to your comments or DMs. I'm genuinely grateful for all the support and encouragement. Hopefully, there won't be any notable updates for a while. I really just want a smooth and easy divorce so I can get on with my life. Please keep your fingers crossed for me. Latest update: accusation of financial infidelity / husband was actually cheating. For those who might not remember, I had a series of posts earlier this summer. It all started with whether I was in the wrong for buying an expensive gaming PC, desk, and chair with my own fun money, which led to accusations of financial infidelity from my husband. Later, he revealed that the real issue was his disappointment in my job as a senior software developer, feeling that I wasn't on the executive management track and criticizing my relatively casual appearance. I found myself dressing up in dresses, applying makeup, and wearing heels for dinners at home, all while trying to meet his expectations of cooking elaborate multi-course meals every night. But after a little experiment to see if these changes would actually make him happy, he turned on me, accusing me of being low value because I wasn't a virgin when we met in college 12 years ago. This was something he had never mentioned before, and it felt like a complete betrayal. To make matters worse, he admitted he was cheating with a coworker who is now pregnant. Last time I updated you all, he had moved in with Amy, his coworker, and we were starting the divorce process. I'm back now to share more because so many kind people have been checking in with their well wishes and asking how I'm holding up. I apologize for not updating sooner. As soon as I returned from the spa weekend I mentioned last time, I dove headfirst into working with my attorney on the divorce settlement. I didn't think it was wise to share too much online while the legal issues were still pending. The good news is we were able to reach an agreement pretty quickly, and everything is now executed. We're just waiting for the court date, which could take a couple of months, but my lawyer assures me that the agreement is airtight. While it wasn't quite as favorable as many of you would have hoped for me, I was highly motivated to get it done fast. I prioritized what really mattered to me. The house I inherited from my grandmother is 100% mine, along with all the furnishings and effects inside. My retirement accounts and fun money account are all mine as well. However, I did have to give him 75% of the other cash assets. Even though he wasn't on the title for the house, he contributed substantially to the renovations and upkeep, which allowed the property to appreciate significantly since we moved in. It's okay though. I still have plenty of money, and I'm quite frugal most of the time so I can rebuild my cash savings quickly. Our agreement also states that neither of us has a claim on each other's past, present, or future earnings. So, in the event something happens and he loses his job before the court date, I won't be liable for any alimony. This overall is a very good deal for me and gives me a lot of security. In case anyone is wondering how we got this done so quickly, our state allows for divorce on mutual consent grounds, which essentially enables a quick divorce without a legal separation period if both parties agree on all the finances and assets. Given that Amy is pregnant, my soon-to-be ex-husband, let's call him Joe, yes, like the psychopath in the show you, is also. Now, for the real dirt of this update. Last weekend, shortly after all our papers were signed, Amy reached out to me. She wanted to meet and talk. Part of me thought I should decline, but I was curious about this 24-year-old prodigy who had recently been Joe's affair partner. So, I agreed to meet her for lunch. When we sat down, the first thing I noticed was that Amy was very pregnant, like third trimester pregnant. She confirmed she's due in mid-October, which means the affair has been going on for much longer than Joe let on. But whatever. It's water under the bridge now that the divorce is almost final. After some polite but chilly pleasantries, she asked me when I was going to move out of the house. She claimed Joe had been patient enough while I got my life together, and that her apartment was small, so they needed space for the baby. I told her she must be mistaken. The house is mine, inherited from my grandmother. I asked her what else Joe had told her about me and our marriage, and what spilled out of her mouth was a cascade of Joe's lies. She told me that, yes, she and Joe met at work, but it was about a year ago while interviewing for the executive training program they're both in. Amy said they first became friends before starting a romantic relationship. Joe told her that he was legally married, but that we had been separated in spirit and living separate lives since 2020. He apparently spun a story about not wanting to kick me out and make me homeless during the pandemic because I didn't make much money, and we lived in a cold environment. Then, she dropped some absolute gems. Joe told Amy that we met in our early 20s when he was mentoring me in a GED prep program, claiming I was a high school dropout struggling with addiction, and that he rescued me. He painted himself as my savior, saying he helped me get clean, tutored me for my GED, and supported me while I worked toward an IT career. According to him, I was currently making $445,000 as a help desk technician, and he wanted to make sure I could at least afford a studio apartment. He even claimed we had separated because I relapsed, asserting that he couldn't have a meaningful relationship with a drug addict. All of this is an absolute lie. The extent of my drug use was occasionally sharing a joint in college, maybe 4 or 5 times total, and never anything harder. It was clear that Amy, despite being a 24-year-old virgin prodigy, was dismayed to learn what Joe had told me. She mentioned that the virginity thing wasn't a moral issue for her. She simply hadn't made time to date because she was focused on school and work. Generally, guys her age seem mostly interested in casual hookups, especially those younger finance bro types, but Amy wasn't interested in that. Joe actually took the time to get to know her and feigned a genuine interest in a meaningful relationship. When I asked if the pregnancy was planned, she said no, but they took it as a miracle because Joe had a vasectomy. That really struck me. They saw it as a sign they should keep the baby. But let me set the record straight. Joe did not have a vasectomy. We had both agreed to remain child-free, and I had brought it up a couple of times over the years, but he was adamant about not wanting to alter his body like that, leaving birth control as my sole responsibility. It's infuriating that Amy seems so blameless in all this. Anyone with half a brain would know better than to believe a guy who claims to be separated while still legally married and living with his wife. But without her dating experience, I can see how she might have taken him at face value. After all, I didn't realize anything was off with Joe until just a couple of months ago, and I was the one married to him. It's no surprise that Amy didn't want to believe me, either. She's been in a relationship with him for nearly a year and is 7 months pregnant with his baby. Coming soon, whether they're ready or not. I couldn't immediately refute everything she said, but I decided to show her a couple of things. I pulled out a photo of me in my late teens with my grandmother in front of my house, and I shared my LinkedIn profile, which clearly outlines my current job and education. I told her to do with that information what she wanted, and I urged her to stay safe and take care of herself before saying my goodbyes. It was all surreal, like something out of a twisted movie. I'm sorry this is so long, but I know those of you following my story would want to know about this dramatic turn. As for future updates, I'm not sure if I'll post again. Maybe in a year or so when I've processed all of this with therapy and am finally ready to live my best life. As for Joe and Amy, it's entirely up to them to navigate their own chaotic path. I genuinely hope she wakes up and realizes who he really is, but I'm not holding my breath. I know he'll spin this whole situation in his favor, just like he always does. But you know what? I refuse to make this my problem anymore. I'm done.